Of the 9 or so orchestral tone poems of Richard Strauss, the 8th is the Symphonia Domestica. On the one hand, a beautifully constructed 4-movement symphony played without a pause. At the same time, it's a descriptive tone poem with a narrative or story. A story which Strauss had second thoughts about when he conducted the 1904 world premiere in Carnegie Hall. Much derision followed, sorry to say, and the work's reputation was not helped by Strauss's then conducting 2 more performances at Wanamaker's giant department store in New York. "True art," said Strauss, "ennobles any hall." Okay. All of this is too bad, since to this day people cannot get past Strauss's original scenario of the work, and thus deny themselves the appreciation of what I believe is not only Strauss's best tone poem, along with Till Eulenspiegel, but one of his greatest works overall. An exciting, tuneful, dashing, warm, humorous celebration of the joys of family life. As Strauss said, "What can be a more serious matter than married life?" The Domestica's first movement is formed by a presentation of the 3 main theme groups representing the father, the mother, and the child. And they all interact with one another as in real life. And with a gentle, amiable sense of humor, Strauss begins with the father's themes, and there are 5 of them in all. The first, a multifaceted portrait, you would say. First of them is a good-natured theme in the cellos. Hang on to the first 3 notes. Ba-da-da. They're very important. They're typical of Strauss in his nature mode, or folksy mode. But these 3 notes will hover over and guide the entire work. And Papa's second theme is the dreamy, yearning theme. It arches up an octave like so, and continues. Number 3 is disgruntled. Very short little motive. Number 4 is fiery. It's usually in the key of E major, and it rises. And number 5, which is marked lusty. It's a trumpet call that lands on a high C with upward rushing strings and woodwinds. Okay. Here now, in quick succession, our first theme group, or the many moods of Papa. No sooner does Papa's genial theme reappear than it's abruptly cut short by this striking theme. Okay, and this second theme group, representing the mother, this impetuous theme is very striking. Its first 3 notes are an exact inversion of Father's first 3 notes. So Father has, and Mother has, like maybe they're opposites? Who knows? Also, this theme is startling because B major, the key it's in, totally foreign to F major for Dad. And the mother's theme now continues like so. And this little figure, those 4 notes, will play a very important role in the big family fugue in the finale, where it becomes rather testy, I'd say. But Mom's B major key and Dad's F major are also as far removed from one another in harmony as possible. They are unharmonious. They are poles apart. Is Strauss implying something about basic compatibility here, do you think? Well, if so, it's all done with loving humor. Here now is Mother's theme, and as she storms in, listen for the scurrying woodwinds as everyone scatters in her path. As you heard, Mother has a sweet and amiable side, represented by this graceful theme. And this little curly cue, ya-da-da-do-do, very, very important. You'll hear it later. Okay. So Mom and Dad now interact. Sometimes it's raucous, sometimes it's tender and calm. When it's raucous and explosive, the rhythms are very disjointed. But as we saw in Till Eulenspiegel, Strauss is a master in the endless number of ways that he varies and combines his themes, until after much back and forth orchestral bickering, the music suddenly stops and something unexpected happens. There it is. Despite all of the lighthearted fun, Strauss does something quite beautiful here. The oboe d'amore, it's a slightly darker, more mellow type of oboe. The oboe of love introduces the third theme, the child. It's in D minor. It's closely related to Father's F major. But did you hear the way that it ascended to this? That's a B major triad. That's Mother's key. So the child is equal parts mother and father. And amidst all of the supposed bombast this work is known for, there follows an absolutely magical passage. Awestruck, the mother's motive. And the father's key of F, but it's F minor. Mother, father, muted horns. Both parents gaze in wonder here. There's some doubt here, sadness, even fear. But when the oboe d'amore re-enters in D major, it's as if the parents say, no, this is the most wonderful thing that's ever happened. Here is this entire passage. And there he is, in his innocent newborn beauty, their son. And that's the child's single theme. He only needs one. And that descending phrase that you heard, this, it will become very important. I'll refer to it often. So, no sooner has the wonder of all of this passed than life resumes. And could this be the 2 a.m. yowling coming from the nursery? Or maybe it's just the more cheerful mood in the household. And Dad's main theme now has a new contour to it. He's a new man. And now there's a brief episode where the proud parents show off their new Bübchen to the relatives. Okay, now get this. Strauss writes in the score that the aunts say, Ganz der Papa. Ganz der Papa in F major, of course. That means he's just like his father, of course. And then the uncles say in B major, the mother's key, Ganz die Mama. No, he's just like his mother. Okay, all right. Let's get into the symphony's second movement, the Scherzo. It's rather brief, it's in D major, and it's based almost entirely on the child's theme, which is a nice touch, since the child now dominates the household. But the formerly hushed theme of the child is now transformed into a dancey triple meter. 2, 3. And the string accompaniment is like a miniature fandango. Whimsical and it's delicate. And that descending figure that I point out in a new dancey version now, very prominent. And now Mother's two themes appear in a new combined version. They're like spliced together. You have her main motive, okay, combined with this. That's that little curly cue, that little graceful theme. These themes are spliced together, and they now become the Scherzo's trio section, until the child's theme begins to broaden out, and it leads to a magnificent passage, plenty of that descending figure, until it all comes together with the child's theme, the fandango rhythm, all crowned by that descending phrase. In what may be the symphony's most glorious moment. It's as if Mom and Dad step back and take in the joy of it all. It is so, so good. There's much calm and gentle beauty in what follows, especially a touching violin solo. But what's this that we hear? Strife, turmoil, conflict descends upon the happy household with cries of muted trumpets and trilling woodwinds. Oh my goodness, is it a fire? Is it flood? Is there an earthquake that shattered the peace and tranquility of the happy family? No, no. It's baby in his evening bath. Maybe the water's a little too hot, maybe he's just being cranky. And you certainly can understand how Strauss's program created problems for this work, when in fact it's so beautifully constructed and paced. But we must recall now the famous conductor Hans Richter in his comment about this very passage. He said that the cataclysmic downfall of the gods in fiery Valhalla does not make 1/4 the noise of a single Bavarian baby in his bath. Okay, and now it's evening, and a sense of calm and melancholy descend upon the household. And Strauss paraphrases one of Mendelssohn's songs without words. It's a Venetian gondolier's song. In G minor, and Strauss has 2 clarinets playing it in thirds, with a variation of the child's theme murmuring below it. Almost sounds as if the mother is softly praying over the sleeping child. And when it moves into G major, this exquisite sense of tenderness that totally belies this work's reputation. A lullaby, major and minor, bliss and sadness. Mother's sigh, a bit distressed, maybe, followed by the father's comforting, and the evening clock, the glockenspiel, strikes 7. And now we enter the third movement, where the controversy about Strauss's program really heats up. As the father sits alone in his study at twilight, his dreamy theme, this one, with just one oboe, one clarinet, and a bass clarinet. Strauss only needs these 3 instruments out of a massive ensemble, and he calls this section contemplating and creating. And I'm not sure where the ensuing programmatic details originated, okay, from Strauss himself or from some other overactive imagination. But Strauss did revel in the graphic portrayal of programmatic things in his tone poems. Well, the tranquil, reflective atmosphere begins to intensify now as the wife enters the study. And we hear the husband's 4th theme, the ardent, passionate one. Strauss ingeniously combines now, you might say that he entwines the themes of mom and dad throughout this episode. It's a tad longish, I think, but it's remarkable in the way that it rises in intensity and then subsides several times. It's very beautiful. And during a break in between one of these episodes, things broaden out, and that descending motif I keep pointing out is heard like so. Before things heat up again. And most of this long, impassioned section features both mom and dad's themes played together in counterpoint. And there's supposedly some significance. Which of the 2 themes is prominent? Which one is in the higher register of the orchestra? Which one's in the lower register of the orchestra? That is to say, which one's on top? Which one is it? I blush to think that this may have been Strauss's intention. I don't really even want to know. But at the final high point of this surging, heated music, we get this, the mother in the highest register, the father in the lowest, and this tempestuous clash. With this blasted out by the trumpets. That's the mother's graceful motif we heard a long time. This. What happened? Something is really wrong here. I'm staying out of it. And Father's 3rd theme now, the disgruntled theme, now responds. And as things calm down, we encounter one of Strauss's signature folk melodies. This one had appeared earlier in the study scene, and now it returns. It is this. And the wife's main theme, now exuding tenderness. The husband responds. And to close it off, then we hear in the tuba, om, boom. Guess whose 3 notes that? They are. Okay. Again, I can't stress enough the non-stop brilliance with which Strauss manipulates and varies his material. It's endlessly fascinating. And what follows might be the most remarkable passage in the entire work, and it always gets ignored. Okay. It paints an orchestral impression of the early morning light beginning to filter into the house. Strauss's depictions of sunrise, we know, from Zarathustra or the Alpine Symphony, were epic events. But here he creates the most delicate, shimmery textures, all three themes, father, mother, and the child, little wisps of sound that flit through the air as they dream. And the first thoughts upon awakening, the fragility of human life. What does the future hold for our family? And Strauss's capacity for imaginative, sensational music does not fail him in the finale. No way. He's just getting started. The finale begins as a double fugue, a fugue with two different main themes or subjects. And since the clock has just struck 7 a.m., right, the first sounds in the finale, the sounds of baby greeting his parents at the crack of dawn. Now, and the first theme in the fugue, to start your day with a bang, is this. We hear elements of Papa's theme, his main theme, but the basis of this new fugue is the child's theme, which we know, right? But it's transformed like so. Topped off by ba-bum. It's the kid's theme, but it's the same basic sound, the same basic lineage, you might say, of Dad's big tune. And we hear the typical fugal entrances. It's very proper, okay? This family fugue, starting the tonic in F major, answered by the dominant in C major, and on it goes. But this is a double fugue with two main themes, so not to be outdone, the mother's theme now enters. But it's that part of the theme, that tiny little 4-note motive that I mentioned way back in the beginning. It's rather testy, and a little sharp-tongued, I suppose you could say. It's now expanded into this. And Strauss combines all of the parents' themes now in a monumentally noisy, chaotic battle, all in good humor. The complex counterpoint perfectly controlled by the master. A huge high point is reached when Father's formerly dreamy theme, this one roaring out in winds and trumpets, with at least 4 other familiar motifs, all going full throttle around it. But as this dies down, it seems that someone's been forgotten amidst all of this chaos. And there he is, the little tyke. Yes, solo violin in D major, so sweet. The little child, yes. And Mother's crabby motive, Nina, is now transformed into a loving mother's gentle caresses, like so in the second violins. And the mother's sighing continues in the violas and cello. And there are distant horn calls, the child's theme. And another wonderful thing occurs here. It's as if the parents now stop arguing, step back again, and remind themselves of the precious gift that they've been given. Not only the child, but their new life as a family. And Strauss writes what sounds like a new theme, scored for woodwinds and French horns. It's very warm and rustic in its sound. But the theme is an amalgam, a joining of the father's key of F major with a pastoral version of the child's theme. We know it by now. So the full wind choir plays this. In Strauss's best folk song mode. I will let the orchestra continue. That lovely harmonization there at the end. Something our friend Franz Schmidt would soon adopt into his own music. And with this warm and reverent and rustic passage, remember, Strauss always regarded himself as a simple bourgeoisie man from the provinces, nothing more. We now sense that the way is clear, the issues have been settled, and the future looks bright. Okay? And now there's a new theme emerging in the cellos. Very gentle, flowing theme. And ultimately, we will hear the father's three-note motive, his famous do-do-do, do-do-do, now sort of like an undercurrent to that descending theme, which I've mentioned so often, but it's now extended, like so. This will literally carry the music along from this point on. A happy day is definitely dawning. Again, Strauss masterfully combines the entire spectrum of the family's themes, building excitement, even adding 4 saxophones to increase the volume and richness of the orchestra. And the father's big, dreamy theme now returns big time. And it keeps driving the music ahead. The music becomes dissonant, and it almost sounds as if it's going to go off the rails and erupt into chaos. And then D major, the child's theme, returns to save the day in a grandiose hymn-like version. With the fugue theme over it, and the mother's theme, all dashing about joyously, and that descending motive that I can't seem to let go of this one. Okay, now it returns, the crowning glory of this symphony. Ending now with all trombones, tuba, and timpani pounding out Dad's main theme. And And from here on, the finale launches into a series of codas, each one wilder and more jubilant than the last. We hear Mother's theme, Dad's theme, Dad's lusty trumpet call with the rushing woodwinds, and now a new version of the child's theme. It's rugged, raucous, it's earthy. This is the passage that French horn players, the good ones anyway, all wait for. You take the kids' theme as we know it, ba-dee-dee-dee, right, and don't. It is now transformed into this, with the horns whooping it up, then repeating and rocketing up the scale. This is probably the highest note ever written in the Romantic repertoire for the French horns, but there it is. Here is this stunning passage. Non-stop exuberance, horns leaping all around, almost out of control. It all dies down, and the descending theme now takes over. With the fugue theme is now transformed under it into this undulating. And as the music swells, it seems clear that we're headed for a happily ever after ending, with Dad's fiery theme now rising repeatedly in F major, and higher and higher, and when it reaches its high point, oh no, now what? False alarm, everything's okay. The big guy is watching over all. Okay, but we're not quite through. There's one more cadence, and the child's theme, and a scurrying of the fugue. Are we there yet? Here's Mom, very timid. Dad, very bold. And the fugue theme. And now the child's theme in F major. A shout of joy in the brass, all together now in the home key, the happy home key of F major. The harps upward rushing, the winds and the strings. And guess who gets the last word? Here is this entire passage, starting with Dad's fiery theme that's rising and rising, that threatened to disrupt the family unit. Here it is. Question. Did Strauss overdo it a bit there at the end? His own father, Franz, commented, "Son, you know, one shouldn't make all that much noise in one's own home." And Strauss did backtrack on the program, asking that we forget about it and listen to this work as pure music. But once, the cat's out of the bag or the toothpaste is out of the tube, whatever, that's tough to do. But it's a magnificent work. And for all the charges of bombast, the Symphonia Domestica's most memorable passages, in my opinion, are the exquisite, delicate, tender, touching ones, of which there are many. Okay? So rather than focusing on the specific program and its details, with baby in the bath and the aunts and the uncles, follow the work's overall design and its shape. its fantastic panoramic range of expression and virtuosity and emotion, all in celebration of the so-called nuclear family unit, the cornerstone of our civilization. After all, Strauss did say, what could be a more serious matter than married life? Thank you for watching. I'm Lawrence Rapchak.
Thank you.